Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jump Up Supercast, the only podcast on the internet to say, hey, make sure to kiss your mother sometimes. I'm Will, and joining me this week, Brandon.
I don't know what to say there. Preferably on the cheek, I guess.
Clearly on the cheek, Saf.
Okay.
I prefer to hug my mother.
Also acceptable, and Ills.
No thank you.
Fair enough. It's COVID. You know, it's COVID season. You shouldn't be doing that, actually. That's bad.
Why are you inferring my reasons?
I'm not. I'm just applying it to our wider audience of listeners.
You don't know my relationship with my mother.
I don't.
Well, I just want to say to my mom, who I know is not listening to this podcast, that I love you, Mom.
It's Father's Day, but after that, it's back to moms.
Yeah, we get the one day for the dads. We love you, dads, but, moms.
Yeah. And this is where I transition to video games by talking about the Mother series. Hey guys, video games. Why not talk about them?
I'll talk about Mother. Good series.
What are your thoughts on Mother?
We have a whole podcast about Mother 3.
And a whole podcast about Earthbound.
Yeah.
And about Earthbound, too. Yeah, lots of content out there if you want to hear us talk about Mother. So
we've covered it.
And I think the Mother 3 is the longest episode, maybe?
I think it still is, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half.
A lot of content.
I can't wait for the remake on the Switch.
You predicted it, and it was true.
We're gonna have to have Earthbound Beginnings now. It's gonna have to be an episode, so we do all 3.
Go for it.
Complete the trifecta. Yeah. So let's just talk. Once again, we're in the middle of a weird time, right? We would be in the E3 afterglow, but E3 is dead.
Why you gotta remind me?
But before we get started, I do want to do a quick little, I don't know if PSA is the right word, but there's been a lot of people that have come out this week in the gaming sphere, both on the developer side of things, as well as on the esports and the streamer side of things, who are speaking up about abuses that they have faced in their own experiences. And we just want to say at the start, we support those people coming forward. We appreciate the courage it takes to speak about those things in a public space and the difficulty with that. And I think in addition to obviously addressing these specific cases, I think it's important for especially a lot of these events and these esports to really assess what are the power structures that allow people to abuse others in this way, and how can we best address it on both a individual as well as on a systemic level. All that being said, of course, anyone else can say anything else they want, but I want to put that at the front.
Yeah, 100%.
But now transitioning
Smash
to things
community is dead.
There's a calling that probably should be happening, right? But it's rough, I'm sure, for everyone that's in that community. But there is other things that are less important that we're still going to talk about because, hey man, life keeps going on either way. And among those, boys, now you can act outraged. We might be paying more for video games in a couple months. This is a thing we've learned about. Oh, wow. Thank you, Els.
Sorry.
Because, I will say that I am more outraged against the people who are, doing the terrible things. But also, spending more money kind of sucks, but it's nothing in comparison to that.
Yeah.
Just want to get that out there.
Yeah, make it very clear that I was being facetious with the thing earlier. But yeah, so this is the thing we've learned from NBA 2K are the first, as they generally are, to see how much they can get out of their happy buyers. And they are increasing the cost of the next gen version for NBA 2K21 to $70 US, and rather than the $60 we've been paying for. And then there has been more reporting that this might apply to even more games as we enter the next gen.
Mm-hmm.
So to sort of do some baseline stuff, the last time we had an increase in video game prices was what year? Can you guess?
2005?
It was
2005.
It was about that time, yeah, because it was the Xbox 360 area.
It was 2005. George Bush was still in office. They give you a time and place. So it's been a while. We've been at 60 for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And game costs having...
What if we just boycott the $70 game and hope that it never increases across the board?
I mean...
That's not going to happen.
It's easy to boycott because I wasn't going to buy it either way.
Yeah, I know.
But I guess what I was going to say is I feel like there's two different things happening here, right? Which is one, I mean, games inflation has happened in general, right? From 2005, but also game costs have increased. They mentioned this in the article that games cost 300 to 400 times more, percentage-wise more, not 3 to 4 times more than they used to cost to do a AAA game in 2005, right? Which is actually less than I maybe thought it would have been, but still, obviously very expensive. But I don't know if you guys recall, at the start of this current gen that we're in, do you remember what the promise was of why games were going to be able to say $60?
Was it not
No, I don't remember that
microtransactions or
far.
some shit?
It was microtransactions. It was we'll keep it at 60, but we'll make money off microtransactions, and that's how we'll keep it at the same price.
Oh fuck! I mean that was a if I knew that, I not that my opinion would have made any difference, but I would have been like, wow, that's a real bad trade off.
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather paid the $10 to be able to unlock all the costumes in the game somehow.
Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, that play has worked because a lot of these game companies are still making the most money they've ever made off their own individual games, right? Like NBA 2K, the My Player stuff, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars a year, right? And now, I mean, I guarantee you that's not going away, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're gonna remove it when they put it at 70, you know.
And so, this is one that's like, I don't know if there's any call to action really on what to do. Like Il said, like, maybe don't buy $70 games, but then like, hey, you know, the minute that a game that I'm interested in comes out at $70, that boycott's going to feel a lot different, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, this also honestly also doesn't come as a surprise to me.
Sure.
You know, because I kind of saw it coming for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you think back, I mean, video games surprisingly, it's surprisingly one that they've stayed so cheap for so long, and two, you look back at back in the 90s, some Super NES games were like $70.
Mm-hmm.
And with inflation, you know, that's like fucking $90, $100.
Yeah,
about how much they cost back then. So like, it's not a big deal, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe it will be for some people, but also it makes things like Game Pass and stuff look even more appealing now.
Yeah,
because you know, instead of spending $70, you could pay $10 a month and get a bunch of games.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because it's just obviously, like, these companies, we appreciate a lot of the stuff they make, but like, they're not our friends, right? Their job is still to like make a profit, you know, with the system as it's currently designed.
Yeah.
And so
Nintendo's my friend, but
say that to Nintendo.
Everybody else.
our true friend, Doug Bowser. But it'll be interesting just to see how this reaction works, right? Because this always happens typically at the gen breaks, right? Because you have all the general interest of the new consoles, and that's when you sneak in, hey, you have to pay for PS Plus now, right? Like, hey, we're increasing it from 50 to 60, that type of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, like I said, not too much in terms of like larger actions to take, but it'll be interesting. Another thing that's been going on, another rumor that's been happening, right, is having to do with the upcoming Xbox event and just sort of the state of Xbox in general, because Xbox has been very leaky this lead up to next gen. I almost think they're controlled leaks more than anything else, right? But we know that they're planning for probably a July event, right? The thing that was originally going to be around E3. But they said 2 games that got leaked along the way is The Initiative, who were a new studio that was founded to form new IPs, right? Made up of a bunch of different people from Microsoft Studios. Is going to be announcing a new thing, which will be interesting. But perhaps the thing with a little bit more meat on it, there's also a Perfect Dark remake that may be happening that may be the Initiative's game. We're not really sure one way or the other. But how do you guys feel about the idea of a game like Perfect Dark coming back after, when was Zero? Over almost 15 years ago now?
At the beginning of 360, right?
Yeah,
so
360,
2005. Oh man, dude, I'm feeling good about that. I mean, it's no secret that I fucking love Perfect Dark, and that's a game that I'm not afraid to admit that I have a lot of nostalgia for.
Sure.
And I fucking love it. I love it so much. So just the idea that a new one will, you know, if it's a sequel, if it's a remake, fucking whatever, dude. I don't care. I just want more Perfect Dark in my life because I love that game. And it's just like, you know, Zero wasn't good. And it's been so long. It's been 15 years.
Yeah.
And, like, they've just been holding on to that IP. Like, they could have done something in that time. So just anything right now for me is very exciting because I loved that game. And I think it's an incredible game. And I want to see more. I like the world. And I love... And the only problem is, obviously it's going to be a different team. But hopefully they can recapture that, some of that magic that all those other dudes did back in the day with Rare.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that laptop gun again. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I love the laptop gun. Good.
Very cheesy. Yeah. But yeah, I really love the original Perfect Dark. I never played Perfect Dark Zero, so I don't have bad memories of it. But hopefully they find a way to update it in a real good way, because that'd be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because obviously Microsoft's in a very interesting position because Sony has, partially through Activision, gotten better at leveraging their old properties this gen, right? Like Crash, right? It's not a Sony thing, but Sony's heavily attached itself to it, right? Spyro, same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And Xbox has sort of, I think, struggled with that a little bit more, right? With things that they own that people have nostalgia for. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how this goes, right? I mean,
specifically with Rare. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with Rare that they own that people have nostalgia for.
Yeah.
So,
do you think it would be a reboot or a remake?
I would guess reboot if I were to make a guess. Right? I don't know one way or the other though.
What would you prefer then?
I would prefer a reboot.
Yeah, me too.
Reboot or Perfect Dark 2.
Yeah, it's been long enough that I think just a remake would kind of be a little bit of a bummer, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the design of the original really lends that well to current kind of shooters.
Because we had the remake on 360, right?
Yeah,
yeah, and so
which made the game better.
Yeah.
So with dual analog sticks, obviously that was a big thing.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be interesting. Here's another little part of it that I think is interesting. We got another part from I believe it was Brad Sams. Where the Series S, the Lockhart, the cheaper version, is right now supposed to be unveiled in August, which is notable because originally, according for the year, they were planning to launch the Series X in August. So, and then in September they would do Lockhart / the weaker version, Series S, which I thought was just really interesting because I think it further speaks to the idea of people having to launch consoles in the holiday, like directly at the holiday, has gone away, right? Mm-hmm. COVID obviously delayed that, so they're going to end up probably doing November like they may have always never planned to do, right? But I think that's interesting because, like Switch right now, I mean, that launched in March, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also Switch, there was really only 2 months from when we knew hard details about the Switch to when it launched, right?
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting that sort of both these consoles will be in that same position, right, of 2 months out. And that might just be the standard going forward for all console reveals from this point forward, right? Like, who knows?
Yeah, I kind of wish that was the standard for everything. I hate waiting long times.
Yeah.
Fucking reveal it and then give it to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that'll be, like I said, we'll probably have, in 2 weeks or so, probably have more stuff to talk about in relation to Xbox. And there's constant rumor and innuendo about directs. I don't want to even comment. It's I'm done. I'm done with the direct speculation. They happen when they happen. It's been 300
Directs are
days.
dead.
We can
They're
make
dead.
it.
Oh my god.
You gotta let go. It's over.
Yeah.
Oh, it hurts.
There is that's sort of the big news for this week. Like I said, there wasn't a lot, but there was stuff there. I do think it's of note. We've been playing video games, right? As we've always said, even when there's not news, there are still video games. So why not talk about them?
True.
What have you boys been playing?
I don't know. Who wants to go first?
Saf?
I've not played anything new. I've still played Xenoblade. I'm like 200. I think I've broke the 200 hours mark already, and I still haven't beaten that game yet.
Now,
Wait,
this
you
is a
haven't beaten
point.
it?
No, I have not.
This is a place to really discuss Saf, the way that Saf plays RPGs,
Oh my god.
and that he's a crazy person.
Yeah, I don't
All
know
right,
what are you doing?
Saf, explain us. Let's explain in your own words.
All right. I've decided, for whatever reason, I've decided that I want to get advanced books, which is like the advanced skill levels for the special moves each character has.
Mhm.
And in order to get those advanced books, you have to grind up unique monsters, which means that you have to fight them again and again and again until you
Mhm.
get the fucking treasure chest that has that advanced book, and then you can learn that skill. And through that, you will probably get enough points to be able to like learn advanced levels of that skill and be super powerful. So I guess a lot of my time has just been grinding up unique monsters and just getting those advanced skill books. There was a glorious moment, which I realized how fucking sad it is, but it's a glorious moment that I took a picture of and kept it on my fucking Switch hardware, where it's like I beat a monster and I got 2 advanced books, which is just 2 advanced books that I did not learn, and it felt so good because I spent like fucking an hour and a half trying to find those 2 books.
Mhm.
And it's just so fucking... It is just as sad as it sounds.
When you get to the last boss, are you just gonna like hit him and kill him in one hit? Is that what's gonna happen?
I think I'm just going to accidentally sneeze and then it'll be game over for the boss.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's
Are
never
you
been
level
easier to kill
99
God.
yet?
Sorry, what was it, Brandon?
What level are you? Are you level 99 yet?
No, I'm not. I'm level 81.
Jeez.
So, Saf, this is a Xenoblade thing, but also I know that you played like 150 hours of Fire Emblem Three Houses and didn't get to the time skip.
Is that-
Yes.
What? How?
No,
I don't know how you do it in Fire Emblem. That's what I'm confused on.
I mean, I like to be able to recruit all the people before I jump to the time skip, or recruit as many as I want. Let's jump before.
I know Noah did that. He literally recruited every single other person before he did the time skip, which I'm just like... But now he like wore himself off. He didn't even fucking finish the game. He was like tired of the game.
I'm so confused. Like, you know there are alternate routes, right? You should just play the game 4 times instead.
Yeah, but I really like the
Fucking
characters.
bastard.
I want them on my team.
Yeah, you can have them on the team in the other routes.
But I want them in this team.
Oh god. Okay,
Oh.
whatever.
I won't get Cloud in the other route. Nor will I get
Oh.
Hilda.
All right, you have them now, don't you?
Oh, you
Yeah.
you went with the yellow deer or whatever they are.
Fear the deer, man.
Fear
Yeah.
the deer.
Hmm.
Lame.
What a dork.
It's no Elderguard.
There's no black eagles. Come on.
They're better than those. Yeah.
Wow.
Wrong. False.
So Saf will be playing Xenoblade Chronicles for the next 150
3 months.
years.
Yeah.
Ills, you've beaten Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and have now picked up Torna. Speaking
True.
of, how do you feel about 2, the way it wrapped up, and now moving into Torna?
I like 2 a whole lot. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I initially thought that, just from like word of mouth, I guess, that 2 was more of a step down from 1 than it actually is, at least to me.
Mhm.
So, I found it a very satisfying for the most part. And I only put like, I didn't put like 200 hours into it. I put like 90, 95.
Mhm.
So it's a decent amount.
That's pretty.
But-
I think that's average for a Xenoblade game.
And now I'm starting Torna, and I gotta say, like, I'm only like 4 hours maybe or 3 hours into it, and I really like the cast. I think I like them more than the Xenoblade 2 cast already, but yeah, it's real good. I don't think the combat is as good in Torna. I think I really like the blade switching in 2 a lot more, and the elemental combos that are integral to doing massive damage.
The blade switching and like the chain attacks in 2 were a lot more satisfying, especially when you can just chain a whole bunch of them together. Like
Yeah,
different rounds.
that's what I did to the last boss, and then I hit him for like 2 million damage, and he was
The
dead.
numbers get real
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. It felt so good. Like, it just feels so fucking satisfying. And that's not something that you get in Torna.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of other elements in Torna that I'm sure you... I haven't actually spoke to you about it, but like, there's a lot of other elements in Torna. Like, the music is a lot more jazzy and a lot more fun.
Yeah.
The stories... I feel so like the story so far has been pretty solid. Like, I really like looking into the background of these characters.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, so far I really like Torna. I mean, I know I'm still in the beginning, but I like it a lot. And also, I'm glad that they brought back kind of a step down version of it, but the little character chart that was in Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade...
The Affinity chart? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess. Is it called Affinity? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
In the original game, yeah.
That's weird. Because Affinity counts for something else too. But, I like that they brought that back in some form, because I was really missing that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Xenoblade 2 is a weird game. Because... I say it when I finish it, right? Which is like, I'm happy I don't have to score it. I'm not like a reviewer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, if you score it, it's like, there's like a lot of like problems, right? Like the blades, like the way you get the blades through like the random pulls are bad, right? There's some performance stuff. There's some map issues, right? Some of that stuff's been fixed in patches. But also, like, in terms of affecting my experience, I still had a really great time with Xenoblade 2. Like you said, like I consider it probably closer to 1 than a lot of people do in terms of like how much I like it. And I think there's one big obvious barrier of entry, which is the general design of a lot of the characters, right?
Yeah.
Which like not even on like a horny side of things, or whether or not you're into like that type of anime, but just also like they just look weird even in that realm,
Yeah, they kind of look a little odd. Like even between each other, they look like they don't really belong together.
You can tell there was like 80 artists that were in this that worked on that game. Which was a neat idea, but I think sort of you needed a unifying vision over them,
Yeah.
Isn't that what happened though? Or am I wait, no, am I mistaking it for X? Didn't they have like fucking a billion different artists just do different characters?
No, that was it. All the blades are different artists besides the main cast.
Okay.
Yeah, you can really tell.
Yeah. Like Torna was all Nomura, except for Malice. He's the only one that's not. And so, that's why like all the guest blades are like, they're called that because guest artists did them.
Right, okay.
Yeah, which was like, what I said, like a neat idea, but you can tell that they're from different worlds. Yeah. And you get some really wild designs like the Snow Bunny lady.
Dahlia.
There's a lot in that game. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, there is.
Rain, have you been playing anything of note, or?
I mean, not so. I have been playing stuff of note. The thing is, I mean, we've talked about. I'm playing Xenoblade. It's part of my New Year's game. 50% of the way through 2020, by the way. So if you haven't started new New Year's games to these, to my friends on the podcast,
I'm wiping my brow.
You might want to start because you got half a year to finish all your games. But I'm playing that for New Year's, and Saf just talked about. We talked about it enough. I'm playing John Wick Hex, and that's going to be a game club game. So I don't really want to get into details on that. I play Animal Crossing every single day still. So we talk about that a lot. I played Tetris 99 here and there. I'm trying. My current goal is to just unlock all the different themes. Big ups on those themes, though. They're very good. I like them a lot. Also, Xenoblade Chronicles theme this weekend.
Oh, baby!
I mean, it's gonna be the past weekend now by the time you listen to this. So if you missed out, oh well. But I'm looking forward to that. So not really. I do want to just talk briefly about something, though. I just want to tie together a point that because earlier I said, I have a lot of nostalgia for Perfect Dark, and obviously, that might make my opinion on that game a little bit higher, but also at the same time, for me, I try to leave nostalgia at the door a lot of times. It's very difficult sometimes. So for like Perfect Dark, have a lot of good things to say about it, and then I still think it's great. But looking back on some games, not so great. Maybe as a kid I thought they were super cool, and I just want to randomly talk about this game for no reason other than to just tie that together. And that game is a game called Booger Man. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this game. Right?
Fuck.
This was on the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
And when you're 8 years old, a game called Booger Man seems like the coolest thing ever, right? So I got this game for my birthday, and I was like, "This is so cool." He flicks boogers and he farts and burps.
He does.
And what a cool dude, And
what a cool dude. It's a pick
when
and
you're
flick
8,
adventure.
when you're 8, the gross out humor is cool,
Yeah.
So I thought it was awesome. And it was, first of all, very difficult. I never beat that game when I was a kid. I just could not fucking beat it. It was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back on it now and playing it within the last like couple of years, it's not good. It's not a very good game.
No.
I thought it was awesome when I was young, but it's not great. It's neat in terms of how funny you look back and
we had a game
silly.
called Booger Man, you know.
Yeah, there's a game called Booger Man, and you literally do flick boogers at people, but you also fart and burp. Those are your weapons, and you can eat a chili pepper and get like fart. You can like start flying around, but you fart out of your ass, and it propels you all over the stage. And you can drink milk, and now you can spit loogies. It's just so stupid, but it's not a good video game.
Really.
So, yeah, you look back on it, and sometimes you look back on video games you liked as a kid, and you say, "Wow, this game sucks."
Yeah,
and
I feel
I wouldn't pick it for the game club, Noah.
Oh no!
Wow.
Even though I haven't beat it, I have no intent on doing so.
Well, that's good.
Was he in Clay Fighter?
He was in
Probably,
Clay
yeah.
Fighter. He was in the Sculptor's Cut, I think, for 63 1/3.
Yeah.
Like, I think him and Earthworm Jim were the two guest characters.
The original guest characters in a fighting game. Look at that. It all starts with Booger Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that I'm seeing that experience happen for a lot of people with SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated.
Yeah.
Of just like, oh man, like I love this game as a kid, and you're like, yeah. I mean, because it was a pretty good SpongeBob game, right? And like when you're a kid, that's like the best thing in the world. But then you're just like, oh, it's a pretty good game. It's not like actually like one of the all-time greats. Like it sort of got memed on in Reddit a whole lot, you know? But I think it's funny, not funny necessarily, but it's interesting to see people sort of have to come to terms with that with the
Sometimes
re-release.
you have to, you know? Sometimes those games that you played as a kid were not as good as you remember.
Sometimes you leave the memories alone, you know?
Yeah.
I don't even go back to attacking the power of Juju. Let that be what it was, you know? Well, but speaking of going back to things, I've been playing a game that sort of, that's its whole pitch, is a return to form for fans of Paper Mario, Bug Fables, and the Everlasting Sapling, which was a Kickstarter game, if I recall correctly. It was pitched as that. Hey, Stick or Sorry, you may not be happy with Color Splash. We know you didn't love that, so we're going to make a game that is like Paper Mario. And when I first started playing it, I am in the next to final chapter, right? I'm fighting all the super bosses and stuff. I'm playing on the hard mode that you get very early on. So it's been slower going. But when I first the first like 2 sessions I played, I was like, yeah, this is like a pretty good like cover song, right? Like,
Right.
I'm playing this and it's clearly going for Paper Mario. I hear the notes. I'm playing the game. There's action commands, you know, there's all that stuff. When you level up, you choose between HP, not FP, and not BP, right? But what are actually just FP and BP.
Yeah.
But as I played it, the thing that I've come to realize that they actually got the most right is just the writing is very good. It's like not like a super like deep story, but the thing that they do that's really nice is that all the NPCs are unique. None of them are reusing designs, which is I think a direct thing, you know, when you versus the Toads in a lot of the Paper Mario games that they were not fans of. But almost all those characters like have like their own little stories to them that happen, right? The 3 main characters that you play as all get to develop and change and like grow as people. And like for a game that's like about a bunch of goofy bugs, right, that are all anthropomorphized, I didn't expect that. That's what caught me off guard, right? And I think that is the thing that Paper Mario has missed recently. Not only is that type of writing that's like not just funny, but also is like makes you like characters more as well. But also like a sense of surprise, you know, just like oh, I don't know what's coming next. And so that's hopefully a thing that will stick around in when I play Origami King, which is coming out in like 2 weeks, which is crazy. But yeah, if you are a fan of Paper Mario 1 or Thousand Year Door, or just generally RPGs, I would Bug Fables. It's a good game.
Yeah, I definitely want to play it. It looks really good. I've seen seen a couple trailers for it. I'm like, yeah, this looks exactly like Paper Mario, but that's, you know, in the best way possible. So,
yeah.
I do want to give it a try, especially now that you're saying good things about it too. It's like,
yeah,
okay, well,
yeah,
hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah. So there it is. Those are the games that we've been playing. There's a few other bits and pieces and scraps we could get to, but really we got to get to the important stuff, to the things that we've got to do on the list.
The list.
Follow along in the pace bin below as every week we add more and more games to our ever-growing list of video games. Over 195. We're getting pretty close to 200, boys. Games on the list. Last week, Saf added Gunman Clive. Where did it end up, Saf?
111.
111. Thank you, Wills. That is, I think, a pretty fair spot for it. But now it's my turn. I'm bringing a game.
Oh, dang.
And I think sometimes we're in weird times. We're in times where people are stressed, and sometimes you just want a junk food game, right? Just a game that you play that's not too hard, not too stressful. It's just a thing to play and have fun with, right? And for me, one of my favorite series is the Warrior series, and among them, one of my favorite Warriors games is Hyrule Warriors. Did you guys play it?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So let's talk about Hyrule Warriors, right? This is the game that is what's in the title. It's a Dynasty Warriors game that is set in Hyrule. I guess we would rank Legends for the Switch because that's the definitive edition. I think that's the official title. The biggest takeaway, so this is not reinventing the wheel in terms of what a Warriors game is, right?
Nope.
You're killing thousands of enemies per level, right? You are mostly mashing X and then pressing Y to try to kill enemies, and then trying to take control of the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What I think the thing that Hyrule Warriors has going for it, though, in comparison to a lot of other Warriors games, including even Fire Emblem Warriors, is that there's actually a lot of variety to the characters and to even sometimes the maps, right? And they do that by bringing in some Zelda elements, such as different weapons you use on different types of enemies that have weaknesses, right? But really, especially with the Definitive Edition, there's like 40 or 50 characters at this point, right? Yeah. And like a lot of deep pulls, right? Like you get Marin summoning the Windfish, right? You get like the bad guy from Yuga from like Link Between Worlds, right? Like there's a lot of weirdos in a way that like is actually a big improvement in my mind from the base Hyrule Warriors game, because the base Hyrule Warriors game skipped a lot of Zelda games, right?
Yeah, it was already even some weirdos in that too, but
yeah. And so I think that to me is the thing that I like most about it, is that like, if you're not a fan of Zelda, if you're a fan of Warriors games, you'll probably like it. If you're a fan of Zelda games, you'll probably enjoy it on a certain level, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a fan of either, it probably isn't for you, right? Like this isn't going to change your mind, I don't think, right? But I think for what it aims out to be, it's almost like Lego Star Wars is where my brain goes to, right? Of just like it sets out to do this thing, and I think it does it well, right? Even if it's not setting out to change the world.
I would go as far as to say this is probably like the best type of Warriors game that they've made.
Yeah, I would say it's like either my favorite or second favorite Warriors game for sure.
Well, I haven't played that many Warriors games, maybe like one other, but it definitely does benefit from all the the Zelda elements that you already know about and love, and also, like you said, all the great characters that are involved, they all have like very specific play styles, and they have cool specials that make it feel like the action is really epic.
Yeah. And boy, oh boy, if you want content, if you do all those adventure maps in this game, this is like a 600-hour game to 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. They don't expect you to, I don't think, because there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, I think Gerard the Completionist has been working on this game for like a year and a half now.
Oh my God.
I mean, I kind of do the same thing, right? Like if there's ever a time that I'm like I just finished a big RPG or something, right? I'll like spend like 3 days while I'll like play Hyrule Warriors, and I'll just do like a couple maps, right, or a couple things on a map, and then I'll like stop and move on to the next thing, and I'll just come back to it later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's relatively simple enough that you don't need to like relearn move sets,
Yeah, and there's only so much you can do. Like you can't do it for like weeks on end and only play that game. Like you would go insane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It is junk food. You take it small bits at a time, small portions at a time, and you'll be fine.
You don't want your tummy to get upset otherwise.
Yeah. How do
if
you
there's
feel
nothing
about
else-
the butt rock in that fucking game?
I find it funny. I mostly laugh, right? Whenever I hear some of these songs. There's a couple that I think I genuinely like. Like, I like the Skyloft remix. I think it has very, like, it's like a goofy guitar riff, but, like, I think it's like it's appropriate music for what you're doing, you know?
I guess, yeah.
Like, I feel like that's sort of how I feel about it. Because Warriors games does this with everything, right? The One Piece Pirate Warriors game takes a lot of One Piece music and makes it butt rocky, right? Like, that's just sort of what they do.
Because I remember trying to listen to it on YouTube. It's like, it's not as fun to listen to as I remember it while I was playing this fucking game.
Yeah, I think it has to be with the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think separately from it, but I think that's
So you're saying they're not going to do like a concert for this game?
God.
A Crush
that'd be a very
40
different
cover
vibe.
concert.
That would be an orchestra. That would be a concert.
I really like the designs of the characters in this game. Like, I really like Impa. She's super cool. Like, I wish that version of her was in Smash or something.
Yeah.
I really like Ganon. Like, he looks
Beast,
great.
like Beast King Ganon is like sick. Like, just like the super long hair and like he looks like he's like a warrior, you know? Like,
It's fucking
even like Link and Zelda look good, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do.
Weird scarf included.
Weird
The OC characters, not so much.
The
Like
what?
Lana.
Lana.
Lana and
She
Sia
reminds
have.
me.
I mean, Lana, I think, is fine. She's just an anime girl. Sia's.
Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Aqua from Konosuba.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Mm.
yeah.
But Sia's design, once again, removing even just the boobage aspect of it. Sia's
Boobs
just
are out.
It's just a weird design. It's just a weird.
You know
design.
she's evil because her boobs are out.
Yeah. And they made her
No,
skin darker, which is a whole nother thing.
Might be controversial, but
Yikes.
I don't hate Linkle.
Do people hate Linkle?
I think people hate Linkle.
I'm fine with Linkle. I think
I kinda
Linkle's
like
a good, like, you're gonna make a
It's
girl
obviously
version
a little
of Link.
weird. Yeah, it's obviously a little weird, like very, obviously some OC kind of stuff, but like I don't know, it's kind of neat. I like it.
I like Volga and Wizro. I think they're fun ways to, like, here's Volvagia, we're gonna make him into like a human guy that like turns into a dragon. I think that's a good version of him in Wizro. Is like, hey, he's a Wizrobe. That's the whole thing. So I think those are cool, right?
I only played the Wii U version, so I didn't get any of those characters.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It is funny how they stick the Wind Waker stuff onto the end of the story. Because all the other DLC doesn't get story bits, right? But because it was part of the 3DS re-release, they do. And it's just like, you beat Ganon, you did it, and then it's like, uh-oh, now there's Phantom Ganon, and he's up to some hijinks, and you're like, oh, cool, alright. The one thing that they also do, Toon Link doesn't show up. He's the only one. You get the King of Red Lions, you get Tetra, but they're like, you can only have one Link. We can't have another one. So Toon Link's not allowed in here, which is weird to me. But anyways.
Disrespectful.
Rude to my friend.
Aside from that, this game is like chock full of really, really good fan service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the one thing that like comes to mind immediately is when you
boobs.
get the chance to. No, not that type of fan service. No, I'm talking about like there's a part in the story where you get to play as the Ganondorf, the villain.
Oh
And you
yeah, I
just
love
start
that part.
fucking
Yeah,
wrecking
that
shit.
was cool.
Yeah.
That was
That part
fucking
was
baller as shit. Yeah, 100%.
You just
And
get
it's
a because that's the thing you would never get to do in a Zelda game, right?
No.
Yeah.
So it only gets to happen in games like this, which is cool.
Mhm.
Ganon's not cool like Bowser. He won't join your team for a little bit.
No,
Nah.
no, he's pure evil. The man exists only for that. Bowser's a dad, you know. Bowser's got he has some goodness in his heart. I do think also it's funny. The way I'd always describe this game is it's a game that uses every part of the buffalo. You know, it like there's the way that the adventure maps work. It's very funny because it's like you're never doing anything too differently, but they have like 20 different pieces and they all put them together differently in this jigsaw puzzle. And by doing that, they're able to make like 250 challenges that you do, right? And they're actually smart enough to spread them out so you don't feel like they're repeating them too much. In a way that is smartly designed to get to wring every hour out of you, right?
Yeah.
If you're Gerard the completionist.
Yeah.
So where would I want to put it on the list? I mentioned Lego Star Wars earlier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
That's
I
at
feel like
147.
Looking at it, surrounding on the list, I do think it's better than Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Agree.
Where's
so I
that
think-
at?
Sure. I won't disagree with that.
And then I think
You can go
I don't
above
think it's better than
Apotheon.
Bloodlines, but I haven't played Apotheon,
It
so I
can
can't
go
speak to
above
that.
Apotheon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
But I would still put it below Bloodlines, I think.
What number is this?
132. Sorry, I should have said that.
Bloodlines.
All right.
Okay.
Though I think Bloodlines might be too low.
I'll put it above Bloodlines if it was me.
Okay. I mean, sure. I have a personal affinity for warrior types games, so I don't want to overrate it just because I like that general genre, right?
I like it too. It's dumb fun.
Yeah.
It's nothing super complicated, but it's still fun.
So if we want to keep moving it up, then do we want to move it past Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
I would.
I'm
I
willing
would.
to do that.
Yeah, I mean that game is
Yeah.
too low, but yeah.
What about Fire Emblem Fates? At 123.
I think I would keep it below Fates.
Okay. Would you keep it below Zack and Wiki Quest for Barbarossa's Treasure?
That I'm like either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I would put it above it.
I think I
I
would
would-
put it above it.
I was gonna put it below Super Mario Brothers 2.
Hills, how are you feeling?
Fuck, I don't know. I'm thinking about Star Control 2 because, even though I think Hyrule Warriors is more fun, I think Star Control 2 has a lot going for it. Like, it
Mhm.
does a lot of cool things that you wouldn't expect.
It's more interesting.
Yeah, in a certain aspect, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of
Yeah.
struggling with that either way because Warriors is mindless fun. Star Control 2 requires, some dedication.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
either way, above or below, it's fine with me.
I think
Okay.
Zack and Wiki's pretty unique. I think I'd be fine with putting it beneath that. And like I said, I haven't played Star Control, so I'll acquiesce on that one.
All right,
So do we want to put it above or below Super Mario Brothers 2?
I haven't played that game.
Above.
I think I'd also want it above.
Alright.
I guess, Brandon, are you fine with it above or below Star Control?
I'm fine either way with Star Control. I feel the same way as Ills. He brings up really good points about Star Control, but
Okay.
I think I'm fine with putting it above it.
Well, Ilse has put it, he is done, he's put it above it.
I
So,
mean, that's where we were going, right?
yeah.
Sure.
So there it is. At 125 on the list is Hyrule Warriors Legends Definitive Edition, but we can just say Hyrule Warriors. Surrounding it at 123, Fire Emblem Fates. 124, Zack and Wiki Quest for Barbarossa's Treasure. 125, Hyrule Warriors. 126, Star Control 2, The Quran Masters. Is that supposed to say that? Urquan?
Yeah.
Urquan.
Okay.
Not the
And then
Quran.
127, it's not the Quran, very different. 127, Super Mario Brothers 2, USA. There it is. That is the list for this week. That is the podcast. We want to thank you all for listening and for subscribing on your podcast service of choice. If you enjoy this and rating us 5 stars, while I keep doing plugs, who wants final phrase?
Saf.
Saf. Sure.
Okay.
Take it away, Saf.
All right. Well, while you think on that, Saf, really fast, we have a Facebook, we have a Twitter, an Instagram, and a Twitch channel. All of us, we are Jumbo Supercast on all of those platforms. Where you can make sure to, you won't miss what we're up to. We also have a YouTube channel where we upload episodes the same day that we upload the normal on your podcast service, which is every Monday for the podcast, and then every other Thursday for the Jump Up Supercast Game Club. As Brandon mentioned earlier, they're playing John Wick Hex for the Game Club, so we'll look forward to hearing their thoughts on that. And then besides of that, once again, I want to thank you all for listening. And Saf, your final phrase.
I know Will said that they don't care about Nintendo Directs, but fuck that guy. I need a Nintendo Direct. I need to know what's happening with Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4.